Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is episode 34 of my Billions and Billions challenge. In today's episode, I am going to construct a Draconic Reactor, so let's get started. The first thing that I need to do is I need to make the components for the Draconic Reactor. So I need to make the Draconic Reactor core, the reactor stabilizer. Actually, I need to make 4 of the reactor stabilizers and a reactor energy injector. So let's get started with the Draconic Reactor core, and that requires a Chaos Shard with 4 Awakened Draconium Ingots and 3 Draconium Ingots. So I have this set up here, and some of these crafts, if not all of them, are of the Chaotic tier. So I have the Chaotic Fusion Crafting Injectors, and I actually have 10 of them. 2 of them are over here because one of the crafts actually needs 10. So let's get started with this. The Chaos Shard goes in here. And then let's go ahead and put one of these guys in each of the chaotic fusion injectors here, and that's actually for the next craft. And then we can go ahead and do this. And let's go ahead and test that these over here work, and it looks like they do. There was kind of a chance in my mind that I would have to move them one further away, but I knew that you can actually have them on different sides of the fusion core here. Or the fusion crafting core. So let's see if that is done. So and actually, whoops, sorry about that, wrong button. And I keep hitting that wrong button. It is the reactor core, so there is that. So let's go ahead and make the reactor energy injector, sorry. And that is the craft that actually requires 10 of these crafting injectors here. So let's grab everything we need for that. And this goes right here. So we have 4 of the Draconium ingots. So let's go ahead and put those in. And then we have 4 of these stabilizer inner rotors. So let's put those. And then we have 2 iron ingots. It's very vanilla, but you know. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to turn off this extraction so I can actually just grab the things out of here. And that is the reactor energy injector. So the next thing is we actually need to place in the things that we need for the reactor stabilizers. And I need 4 of these. So I'm going to throw everything in the fusion crafting injectors by groups of 4. So let's go ahead and split these up into 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wait for these to craft because these are going to take just a little bit to craft. And once they are done, I will be right back. So I have everything constructed that I need to make the actual Draconic Reactor. Now I just need an area. Now I've actually built a platform to house my Draconic Reactor, and here it is. It's out in the middle of the ocean. The thing is about the Draconic Reactors is they are very dangerous. And if you do not keep a sufficient eye on them, they can explode. Or if you just set them up wrongly, they can explode. So I have it out in the middle of the ocean so that if it does explode at some point, because, you know, I'm not paying attention or whatever, it won't do too much damage. Now, what I'm going to do with this power is I'm actually going to send it down to some tier 6 void ore miners. And these will actually have the Cyan laser, which will help me get more diamonds. And so this area down here can actually consume, I think, 640,000 RF per tick, about. It's actually just a little bit less than that, but it will be about that much. Clearly, that's a lot of power. At first, I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that much power out of my Draconic Reactor, but I'm not really sure. It's been quite a while since I played with one of these guys. So let's get started on actually setting this thing up. So we're going to put the core right here, and we can go ahead and get rid of this block right here. So let me make sure I'm in the single block mode. Right now the core isn't doing a whole lot because it doesn't have any fuel in it or anything, and obviously it's not reacting or anything. So I have everything planned out so where everything should be, I think, 6. There should be 6 blocks between all of the stabilizers and the core. I'm not sure if I have that placed down the correct direction here. No, I do. I have the first one placed down in the correct direction. This one is not. So let's go ahead and grab this back and place it back down. And then the other So yeah, there should be 6 blocks between them and the core there. And then this reactor energy injector will go, I think, right on top of this block right here. So right now I'm just going to put down some cobblestone, and then we're going to place this down. However, that's not actually the direction I want to place that down. I want to place it down so it's facing up. And I'm not sure, maybe I can use my wrench here. Apparently not. So let's try this one last time. I have no idea why my cat's kind of going crazy right now, but... Okay, so I might need to hold shift here. Okay, there we go. That is facing the correct direction. And I believe there should be 6 blocks between it and the Draconic Energy Core as well. So everything looks to be in order. It would say, I think, invalid shape or something up here if I had something in the wrong location. And actually, let's go ahead and double check that. I should be able to break blocks, no problem right now, because it's not running or anything. So yes, it says invalid setup right here. So the thing is, you can actually place some of the things closer to the core, but if you have too much fuel in it, the core will grow, and it can actually consume the stabilizers, and that would lead to an explosion, which would be bad. So you don't want that. So that's why I have everything 6 blocks away. Everything should be safe once I fuel this thing up. So I am going to throw in 8 awakened draconium blocks. The draconium blocks are the fuel for the reactor. I think 8 is the maximum amount. And then I will have to charge this reactor before it will come online. So let's go ahead and set up some energy here. If you'll notice, I do have some dynamos over here, and that was just to charge up these capacitors. And that is because I need to give this reactor a lot of energy before it can actually start creating energy. So I also need to be super careful in how I hook this up, because if I try to pull too much power out of the reactor, it will explode. It will get too hot and explode. And I should explain a little bit about what I know about the GUI here. This is the core temperature over here. Once it gets up to 2000 degrees Celsius, I will be able to turn it on. As you see right now, it's at 20 degrees Celsius. The containment field right here is the strength. You never want this to drop to 0 when the reactor is in operation, because it will explode. One more thing about the core energy or the core temperature is that if you get it over 8000 degrees Celsius, it will start a runaway reaction, as in the temperature will start to go up very, very quickly, and then it will explode at some point. The energy saturation is just how much energy the reactor core actually has itself. Right now it has nothing because it hasn't been charged and it's not running. And then the fuel conversion level is just how much of the fuel has been converted to chaos. Basically, that would be the waste. So, what I have right here are flux gates. And what flux gates do is they limit the amount of power that goes through them. And that is very important when building a Draconic reactor, because if you try to pull too much energy out of the reactor at one time, which I can do with this cryostabilized flux duct, and that's because the flux duct can pull out an infinite amount of power, you would quickly get an explosion if I hooked up the cryostabilized flux duct directly up to the stabilizers over here, because the stabilizers are where you pull the power from. So what I am going to do with the stabilizers is I'm going to get rid of the iron or the diamond blocks underneath them, and then I'm going to get flux gates here. And I am actually going to sink down a little bit more. I think that'll be good. And have that. As you see, the flux gates have arrows. They only allow flux to travel one way through them, and I think that this will work. I might actually need to replace this block of diamond right here with flux duct and then put the flux gate right here, but I'm not 100% sure on that. For right now, we're just going to place it, or place them rather, right here. And the flux gates actually have a GUI, and they allow you to control it with redstone. So the mod Draconic Evolution actually has a potentiometer, which basically outputs redstone in different increments, almost like a comparator, I guess. And actually, I'm not super familiar with how they operate. All that I know is that they can output different redstone levels. And so basically, the high redstone signal level here, say like I put in 100, actually, you know what, let's do 400,000. And then at the low level, if I put 0, what would happen is if this gets a redstone signal of 0, it will output 0 flux, 0 RF. If it gets a full signal of 15, it will output the full 400,000. Now, I believe how this works is that it does scale according to the redstone. So if I give it a redstone signal with a strength of 1, this should output 25,000 RF per tick if I did my math right. It should be for 0, for redstone signal of 0, it would output 0. For redstone signal of 1, it would be 25,000. For redstone signal of 2, it would be 50,000. 3 would be 75,000. 4 would be, shoot, and I've lost it, 100,000. And actually, I don't think my math is actually correct. If I did... No, it's not, because it doesn't go 0 to 16, it goes 0 to 15 is the redstone signal strength. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what it would be. It would be weird fractions. But anyways, basically it does scale. So the higher redstone signal, if I give this flex gate a higher redstone signal, it will output more energy. If I give it no redstone signal, it will be 0. If I give it a full redstone signal, it will be 400,000. Right now, I'm not actually going to do anything with that. I'm just going to set all of this one right now, just to 100,000. And the rest of them, I'm going to set at 0 for right now. I will be pulling more out by the end of the episode, but I kind of want to get the reactor started before I really start pulling too much out of the reactor. So, yeah, let's just set those to 0 for now. And I don't think I hit the save button on that, so I might need to go back and redo that. Okay, so let's come back over here. Yeah, I did not hit the save button on that, so let's go back. 100,000, hit save. 100,000 again, hit save. So right now it would be trying to pull out 100,000 RF per tick out of the reactor. So this, I need to do the same thing over here. I need to set up a flux gate right here. And I think, yes, that is the correct direction. This is where you actually put the energy into the energy injector. That kind of makes sense. So I am going to set this one up to do 200,000. That should provide a good containment field strength. And I might play with this number. We'll see once I actually hook everything up. But what I want to do now is I want to hook up these two capacitors over here. No, these two capacitors to the flux gate here. And let me think about how I want to do this. I have plenty of cryostabilized flux duct with me, and I have vibrant capacitor banks with me. I think what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and run this down and then over and then down. So let's start hacking away blocks here. And okay, so this lever right here controls the dynamos. I have that set up. So obviously they're off now because the capacitors are actually full. So let's run this over here. So what I want to do here is I actually want to set this to be output, and I want to set the max out or the output to be only on with active with redstone signal, because I'm going to set up some redstone stuff here. So let's go ahead and hook this up. And what I want to do real quickly is actually I want to put a cover on this real fast so that I can make it look nice and neat really pretty easily. So right now nothing should be happening. It shouldn't be getting anything whatsoever. So that's good. And so I want to do the same thing over here, is only active with signal. So let's go ahead and do a little more destruction here. So, whoops, did not mean to do that. And so I need to set this to be output. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually cover this up real fast. And whoops, can't really go that way. Okay, so I will go ahead and cover up the bottom side of that at some point, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. If we take a look here, nothing should be happening because it's not getting energy yet. So let's go ahead and set up a redstone signal of some sort to get these reactors going. So actually, I think I'm going to do them each independently. So let's grab this. So one thing I do want to do here is I want to set the max output to be 100,000. And I'm not sure if that's actually going to be enough. But I have two of these things, and I'm going to control them independently of each other. So, yeah. If I need, I can give it the full 200,000. I think I configured this to be 200,000. Yes, I did. So we're going to put some signs up, and I'm going to put this one right here. This will be, let's do reactor start 1. Because the only job of these two capacitors are going to be as reactor kickstarters. And this will be reactor start 2. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention is I do have some basic solar panels on top of the capacitors. They actually provide a super negligible amount of energy for the capacitors. It's kind of ridiculously low. But anyways, let's continue here. So I actually want to be able to pull energy out of the reactor. And to do that, I need to hook up flux duct to all of these flux gates here that are attached to the reactor stabilizers. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. I just want to drop these, I think, straight down for a little while. Yeah, that'll be all right. And then I want to hook them up to all of the different capacitors, actually. So let's just run each one clear down to the diamond blocks, and then I'll probably get rid of some of the diamond blocks, and then do some cover stuff to make it look all nice and neat. So actually, this draconic armor is not super handy right now. I fly too fast to be able to place things correct or well. Oh, whoops. And there we go with that. So let's, how should I run these? I think let's go ahead and do a little destruction here. And then we can run these over like so. So actually, I want this to be input only. And I'm going to need quite a bit of flux duct here. Let's cover that up. And then this will be input only as well. And I don't know why I did that. I did not mean to do that. So input only. Okay, so that's cool. And okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hook the rest of these flux gates up to the two capacitors that they are nearest to, and that's going to take just a little while. So I will be back once I have all of that done. So I have everything set up like I wanted, but I think I'm going to make one simple change here. So I have two capacitors that are going to be designated as the kickstart reactor or kickstart capacitors, and they are these two capacitors right here. And then this third one I am going to designate as the service capacitor, which will give energy to the reactor energy core. So what I need to do for that is let's go ahead and designate this capacitor over here as that. So let's go and call it containment field, and that is because all of its energy will be going to the containment field. So let's go ahead and set this thing to be 200,000, and let's turn this to be yeah, it can be always on, I think. Actually, you know what, let's do active with signal, and I'm gonna need some more levers here, but that's not a problem. I can just make a bunch of levers. So let's go ahead and hook this up to, let's go ahead and throw down a couple levers, and actually I only need one of them. They are both off right now. So these capacitors over here, let's give them some levers, and once again I will only actually need this one over here, and actually I can't, use this one because this is a cover instead. I got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a lever here. And actually, let's go ahead and delete this lever. So we're not going to flip this just yet, but what we are going to do is this flux gate right here, I'm going to set to be 200,000 on any redstone signal. So its flow should be 200,000 no matter what. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete its connection to this capacitor right here. So there should be a flux duct right underneath right here. Let's go ahead and delete that. And that is the connection from this flux gate to this capacitor. So this flux gate is now only attached to this capacitor right here, which is exactly what I want. So let's go ahead and put a diamond there and block that. So now we have two capacitors designated to start the reactor and then one designated to service the containment field. And we actually need to hook this up to the containment field. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. So what I'm going to need to do is kind of set it up the same way I have the capacitors over there. And I'm not sure I have enough flux duct, to be honest. I might need to go get some. So let's go ahead and run this, I think right here. So we are going to tell this to be an output only on active redstone signal. And we'll output this direction. So one thing I do need to do is I will need to use my crescent hammer here to disconnect all of these right here, because they will be running parallel and we don't want them to cross. Whoops. Okay, so let me double check. This should be output. These are inputs. Correct. Correct. So let me see. Okay, so I will actually need to do this as well. This is going to be a little bit tricky. Actually, I should do this from the underside. So I need to get rid of that, and I need to get rid of this, but there's an underside connection I also need to get rid of. That would be this connection over here. Okay, so they're all not connected with each other, even though they're side by side by side. So I need a few more. It looks like I'm going to be, what, one short here? Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to grab some more flux duct because I will need a little bit more for the rest of the project. I'm also going to neaten this up a little bit. And once I am back with this flux duct and with this connected, I will be right back. So I have my containment field capacitor completely hooked up and everything neatened up. So the last capacitor will be used to actually power through the void ore miners in the basement here. So let's go ahead and get a sign and slap that down. And we'll just say void ore miners. And let's go ahead and hook up a lever as well. And let me double check where my levers are so that I can have it in the same spot here. And apparently they choose now to do the weed eating outside. That's cool. But anyways, so what I need to do is I actually need to tell one of the flux gates here to actually give this thing a lot of power. And this will be the flux gate here. So right now, let's just tell it to do 10,000. Obviously, that's not very much. And I will up this probably later on in the episode. But for right now, just 10,000. So basically, that'll be 10,000. This will be 0. This will be 200,000. And that will be for the containment field. And then this one will be 100,000. I'm not sure what that's for. Okay, so actually, I'm going to go ahead and set this one to 0. I think that's just the one that I set earlier in the episode. So that's not for anything. These capacitors over here are just for the kickstart, so I don't need any energy going to them. I just need the containment field one to definitely get power. So I think we're just about to the point where we can start this thing up, except for the fact that I do need to hook this up to some sort of power, or I need to get the power down to my base down here, or my void ore miners rather. So I actually have my advanced dislocator here, and I actually have it configured to where I can warp down to the basement. So let's do this, and this is just the basement down here. So I don't actually need to be able to get down there except via warp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this capacitor that I have right here up just a little bit more so that it's kind of poking out here. And I kind of have this tower under the ocean here, or in the ocean here, so that I kept everything dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this up. And actually, I want this to not be connected here. So let's go ahead and grab this. And I want to set this up to be no connection. So what I want is, let's go ahead and set these sides to be IO so that I can see how much energy I am outputting down to the basement. And all the void ore miners in the basement are already hooked up to power. They are all configured to, they're ready to go. So all they need is power from this capacitor right here. So let's go ahead and warp back down there for just a second. And as you can see, everything is set up. So yeah, it's all ready to roll. It just needs the energy. So let's warp back up here. And let's go ahead and hook this last capacitor up, wherever it is, to this capacitor right here. And actually, one more thing here. Do I have this hooked up to the containment field? Let me double check this. Okay, so I have the, okay, so this one is hooked up. So did I disconnect this right here? Because I do want to do that. Because I want all of its energy to go over there. So we'll do that. And then this one right here is 0. And then this one should be the 200,000 that is going right here to the capacitor, if I did that correctly. Yes, I did. Okay, so I need to hook this up, this capacitor up to this capacitor. And what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to do kind of a little snake from this corner here. So let me double check that I don't have anything hooked up to this corner. I don't. So what we're going to do is, let's worm our way to this capacitor here. Actually, that's not great that I have the torches there. So actually, let's move these torches to the corners. That way I can come into the side here. And I'm going to set this to be input. This down here will need to be set to output on the corner here. And I will need to grab my crescent hammer once again to disconnect some connections here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So I need to, oh shoot. Didn't mean to do that. So let's disconnect that. Come on, disconnect. There we go. Hopefully nothing happened there. I don't think anything did because I don't have the reactor in charge mode or anything. So what I need to go ahead and do is I need to disconnect these so that all of this energy will make its way into here. And actually what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and set this to be active with signal only. And nothing should be happening now. So nothing is happening, so that's good. Let's go ahead and cover this up, and I think we're about ready to get ahead and start this reactor. So what I need to do is I need to come up here, and let's go ahead and hit the charge button. So nothing's happening now because it's not getting any energy, but we can solve that by flipping a couple levers here. So I do want that off for right now. Let's go ahead and hit reactor start 1. Okay, so we're getting some energy in here, and you can see that. So the containment field is going up. I kind of think it'll go up to 50%, and then it will actually start heating the reactor. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it does take quite a bit of power to get started. I am not going to hit the second reactor start yet, because we are making good progress, it looks like. Okay, so we're at 50%. Okay, so next is the energy saturation. That's my bad. It's just been a long time since I played with these things, so I'm not exactly sure how far this energy saturation will go up. It might go up to 50%. I'm not really sure. So it looks like this holds 1 billion RF, which is a lot of energy. Do I have a billion RF in this? I do. I have 1.6 billion RF. So let's, you know what? Let's go ahead and hit this second reactor start here. Let's speed things up a little bit. So now I should be getting double the power in here, theoretically anyways. So, okay, so I fumbled something here because this should not be seeing any input here. Yes, it looks like I crossed my wires somewhere. So let me come down here and quickly, yes, okay, so what I've done here is it looks like that shouldn't be connected. Let's try this again, and the number should be 0 input and 100,000 output. So that's better. Basically, it was just outputting energy to itself is what was going on there. And that's because I had my flux duct crossed. This is why you always double check things. So anyways, this energy saturation will go up, and I'm not sure if it'll stop at 50%, 33%, 100%. I'm not sure what. But at some point, the heat will start going up. And I should have enough energy to get all the way this reactor started anyways. So where is my output? That is for the containment fields. This is for the void ore miners. So for right now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to slap a sign on this and put void ore miners so that I know. And I know I didn't do that right. And that way I just know that this flux gate is for the void ore miners, so that when I'm starting to change the numbers here, I know which one I need to go to. Okay, so this thing's still going up, so I'm kind of thinking that maybe 50% is where it'll stop. Okay, we're almost there. Come on, start heating up. And like I think I said earlier, once you get to 2,000 degrees, you can start pulling, or you can turn it on and you can start pulling energy out of the reactor. So that's cool. However, we do not want this to go over 8,000 degrees Celsius. If we do, we're going to have a bad time. That's just not good. So let's go ahead and hit the containment field lever. So let's go ahead and flip that. That should give us a decent amount of power right now, because it does have some energy in it from the solar panels that I've had there, and they've been there for, I don't know, a couple days now, real time. So okay, so we're getting really close. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually flip this lever for reactor start 2. I'm going to shut that off because I do not want that in operation when the reactor is actually in operation. So we're almost to our 2,000 here. Okay, so we're to 2,000. I can hit this activate button, and this should start going up. Okay, so the energy saturation is going up pretty quickly. That's a good sign. The energy, or the containment field, is also going up rather quickly. Am I actually getting my flow? So where's my containment field? Okay, so it looks like I'm not actually getting anything out. So I need to be a little bit careful here. So yeah, I'm not getting any energy out of the reactor right now. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. And that's because I need to rehook up my energy stabilizers and my flux gates here. So let me do something real fast. So which ones do I actually need? Actually, there's only one of them that I really need to hook up. There's two of them. Sorry, that would be the containment field one and the void ore miner one. So I'm actually going to get rid of this block here. I need to be super mega careful not to kill the reactor stabilizers right now, because the reactor will explode if I destroy them at this point, because the reactor is yeah, it's not running, but it can run. So let's go ahead and get that. And I want to place this facing down right here. That is incorrect. And I cannot shift that over to the side. Let me try this. Okay, so that is incorrect as well. This is kind of a pain in the butt with the Draconic armor here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a piece of cobblestone there and then do that. So that should help. Let's go ahead and knock that out. So this is the correct flux gate here. Let's go ahead and hook up our flux duct. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to hook it up right there, and that should allow me to pull energy out. Okay, so now I need the containment field one. Which one is the containment field? reactor start. This is void ore miner. This is the containment field. So which, I believe it's this one right here. I need to go ahead and redo this one right here. So actually I should have left that block there for the time being, but let's go ahead and get this flux gate here. And I need to make sure that I have the right flux gate. So I do not, so let's go ahead and do 200,000 save and 200,000 save. Okay, so flow should be 200,000, so let's get our flux duct, let's hook this up correctly. Okay, so we should be able to pull energy out of the reactor now. Let's go ahead and try this thing again. And cool, it still has temperature, so let's go ahead and see. We are getting the energy now. So this is the containment field. Why is it only doing 2 or 100,000? That's kind of weird. Oh, I think I know why. Because I still have my reactor start one of the levers on. So let's go ahead and turn that off, because we do not need it on. And this one over here should be 200,000, 200,000. So that's fantastic. And let's see over here. The temperature is going down, and that's because I'm not actually pulling very much energy out of the reactor. So let's go ahead and start to ramp that up. Yeah, and that's actually fine that it's giving out all of its energy, because this is for the void ore miners. So that's just hunky-dory. So this over here, I need to change this. So let's, okay, what are we at heat-wise? We're actually, okay, so we're actually going up at this point. So that's fine, just as long as we don't get too near to that 8,000. The energy efficiency actually, I believe, goes up as the temperature gets hotter. But like I said, you don't want to get over 8,000. So the fuel conversion rate is actually very low, because I'm not actually pulling out very much energy out of this reactor compared to what it can do. Let's go ahead and set this to be 200,000. And let's see where we're at there. Ideally, I would want to pull 640,000 RF per tick out of this reactor, but that is not something that I might not be able to pull that much out at this point. Okay, so the numbers down here, the core volume just tells how much fuel I put in there. I put 8 blocks in, so it's 8 meters cubed. The conversion rate is how much, this is the current RF per tick being generated by the reactor. And that number should get up to about 400,000, and that's because the containment field is using 200,000, and then I'm exporting 200,000 RF per tick to the void ore miners. As we can see, the containment field is in really good shape. It is going down, and it will continue to go down as these generation values go up and eventually get to about 400,000. That's where it should settle. And obviously I will be using more fuel because I am having the reactor generate more power. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit around and wait for a little while to see kind of where the numbers settle. And if the reactor starts to get dangerous or the reactor gets to the point where it's settling, I will be right back. So I think I've reached almost equilibrium at this point. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and call this a good episode. The reactor temperature is still rising by a little bit, but the generation rate is almost to that 400,000 in which it will settle around. And that means the core temperature will stop rising or rise very, very slowly. Also, the containment field strength is very good, and I'm not too worried about the energy saturation. It is getting a little bit low, but it should be fine where it's at. So in today's episode, I built the components and then built a Draconic Reactor, and it looks like this. Right now, it's generating 400,000 RF per tick, 200,000 of which is actually going back into the containment field. If I really wanted, I could probably drop that down to 150,000 or so and still be completely fine. But it's been a while, and I'm not 100% sure about that, so definitely don't take that advice, except, I mean, unless you experiment around or read that, that's fine. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to run it as is for a little while. Over time, the reactor actually gets to the point where it actually gets a little bit more stable and a little bit cooler. And you can kind of see that by the fuel conversion level right here. When it's in this green band, when this little marker is in the green band, it actually will be able to produce a little bit more power than it can right now at the same level of heat. And so I will take advantage of that once I get to that fuel conversion level. But for right now, giving those void ore miners in the basement 200,000 RF per tick, that's going to give me quite a bit of diamonds. And one thing I don't think I mentioned is, let's go ahead and go down there so that I can actually show you. These void ore miners are actually hooked up to ender chests, which are hooked up to import buses at my main base. So all of this stuff is getting exported to my main base. So that's quite a bit more stuff that I'm getting right now. So if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to drop a like down below. And if you like watching automation type stuff in modded Minecraft, definitely consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Anyways, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.